Welcome back to a spectacular day here in Buffalo. Temperatures in the low 60s, the sun is shining, and we have Tracy Wolfson down on the sidelines. Tracy.
Well, thanks a lot, Greg. And the Bills today will be with a depleted secondary. They are without Jarius Byrd, despite rumors about trade talks. He is out with plantar fasciitis, and we were told that it's not in just one foot, it is in both feet. And then we were told from Jarius Byrd himself that Mario Williams, their defensive end, is also dealing with plantar fasciitis, but he will be playing today, but it is something to keep an eye on. So Tom Brady going against a depleted secondary today. Guys?
Tracy, thank you. Glad to have you with us. And we are set to kick off the first game on a Sunday afternoon.
And a beautiful day for football. A little breezy, but sunny, cool. Players don't have to worry about the heat. It is a spectacular afternoon to get this thing started.
Buffalo Bills won the toss. They deferred. They choose the Patriots to get the ball first. LeGarrette Blount is deep for the Patriots and will return it from the 1. And is hit hard inside the 15-yard line by Denoris Searcy. Well, there's number 12. We were talking with Tom Brady last night. I said, I can't believe this is your 14th season. He said, I can't either. On the line, Logan Mankins, the left guard, the most senior in his 9th year. And the Patriots looking to Danny Amendola to shore up a depleted receiving corps.
The one good news for this Patriots offense is that their offensive line, with all the other changes that have taken place, at least it's returning intact from a year ago.
Stephen Ridley starts in the backfield. And movement up front, and the first flag of the season. Our referee is Walt Anderson.
Neutral zone infraction, number 99, defense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
That's Marcel Darius, the third-year defensive tackle out of Alabama.
You know, that is so smart by Tom Brady. He goes under center and stays there for a long time with an exaggerated lengthy snap count, knowing that everybody across that line, their nerves are on edge. That's an easy 5 yards for the Pats.
So on 1st and 5, Brady throws, and that is complete across the 25 to the 29 to Amendola.
And again, Danny Amendola inheriting a lot of the same routes and the same system that Wes Welker flourished in for half a dozen years. And Danny Amendola is a player with a lot of skills. A lot of, people didn't get to see it so much because he's been injured, and he played for the Rams in St. Louis when they weren't very good. The kid is a good, solid player.
Ridley, lost ball, and appears to have been covered by the Patriots at about the 32. Up front defensively for Buffalo, Mario Williams, 63.5 career sacks, a team high 10.5 last year. Right in the middle of the D, second-round draft pick Kiko Alonso out of Oregon. Plug-ins for starters in the secondary. Justin Rogers on the corner. And Searcy at safety. 2nd and 6. And we have another stoppage of play with a flag.
Buffalo is challenging the ruling on the field that the runner was down by contact.
Wow, so Doug Marrone making his presence felt early. And Walt Anderson will go under the hood quickly.
Well, there's Stephen Ridley right in the middle of your picture. He's going to be stripped of the ball by Manny Lawson, number 91. Now, the ruling on the field was that he was down by contact, but the ball appears to come out before he goes down. And it looked like Dan Conley, number 63 of the Patriots, recovers the football.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands. Buffalo will be charged with its first timeout.
Now, Walt Coleman is saying he didn't see enough to overturn the call on the field, that Ridley was down before Manny Lawson was able to strip out the football.
You would have to figure that Doug Marrone got a little tip from upstairs, but the question is,
Well,
if you didn't recover the football, then why challenge?
Well, that's exactly right. And it appeared from everything we saw that Dan Connolly covered the football, which meant that New England retained possession. For the life of me, I'm trying to figure out why in the world Doug Marrone challenged that.
So Buffalo loses a timeout. It's 2nd and 6 from the 32. Brady to throw. Got rid of it, incomplete. Intended for Amendola. It'll be 3rd and 6. Dan, what did you think about, and Doug Marrone told us this yesterday, what did you think about his decision to give the ball to Tom Brady first thing right off the bat?
Well, I just think that he wanted his defense on the field to start the game. I think more and more coaches are leaning towards deferring on the opening kickoff. They like to start defensively, means they'll start offensively the second half. I think it's a trend that you're seeing more and more of it. I kind of like it.
3rd and 6. Brady with time, throwing up the middle. It is grabbed across midfield by Amendola for a first down into Buffalo territory at the 44.
Well, it's Danny Amendola going right down the seam. He gets away from coverage, and take a look how perfectly that ball is thrown. Now he juggles it, and he stays with it, and he's able to regain possession. He gets his hand under it before he hits the ground. Excellent concentration by Danny Amendola, catching a perfectly thrown pass from Tom Brady.
24 yards in the first down. Fake to Ridley. Throwing over the middle, incomplete. His intended receiver, Kenbrell Tompkins, looked like he tumbled to the turf before the ball got there.
Well, Kenbrell Tompkins is a rookie, and he's going to be a big part of this New England offense. Tom Brady telling us, and he kind of lost his footing. He makes a break to the inside. You saw he got inside Leotis McKelvin, and his legs just seem to go out from under him. But Brady telling us Tompkins does everything right every day. He really likes the kid.
2nd and 10. Ridley. Whoa! Met and dropped at the 45 by Leotis McKelvin, coming up from his cornerback position.
Well, who says corners can't come up and tackle? There's a corner that hits like a linebacker. Look at the top of your screen. Leotis McKelvin, he sees it down block, knifes in right off of it. But look how he gets low, puts his shoulder right in to the ball carrier and drops him. Outstanding tackling.
3rd and 10. Brady had to get rid of it in a hurry, and it's incomplete. Terrific pass rush on Brady from the Bill defense led by Ron Brooks.
Yeah, Ron Brooks, number 33, comes from the secondary. Tom spreading the field with 4 wide receivers, and Shane Vereen attempting to get over there and make the block, but Brooks just crashes right through. A good defensive series, forcing a punt by Buffalo.
Leotis McKelvin led the league in punt returns last season. Fair catch called for and made by McKelvin at the 10-yard line. 12:05 to play in the first quarter. When we come back, E.J. Manuel will make his NFL debut.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Verizon. Never be without football with NFL Mobile from Verizon. And by Bud Light. It's the sure sign of a good time. Here we go.
Welcome back to Buffalo, and there's the quarterback, E.J. Manuel. First-round draft pick, minor knee surgery the 18th of August, back sooner than expected. His first start today. C.J. Spiller, maybe a yard, and if you want to talk up-tempo, if Doug Marrone gets his way, this is what it's all about for the Buffalo Bills and E.J. Manuel.
They don't huddle, and that, again, it's a rookie quarterback, starting in this league, but also running an up-tempo offense without huddling. E.J. Manuel's got it all going on, Babe will handle this.
This is Spiller looking for running room. Lost the football, and it is covered by the Patriots. Tommy Kelly, number 93, comes away with the football.
What a disastrous beginning here for the Bills offensively. C.J. Spiller coming around. I think Kyle Arrington, number 25, Kyle Arrington making the tackle, gets his hand on the football, and that was hardly a jarring hit. You can see Spiller was actually, looked like he was trying to transfer the ball from his right to his left, and it started to come out, I think, even before Arrington got a hand on it.
In the game here last year, New England forced 6 turnovers. That's now 28 straight games in which they've forced a turnover. This is Stephen Ridley, and Ridley fighting his way up the sideline and bumped out of bounds. He's ruled out back at about the 10 or the 9-yard line.
Well, now we've seen the ball put on the ground a couple times, once by each team's primary running back. Yeah, you can see right there was where Ridley went out of bounds, but that's a big hit by Aaron Williams.
Second and 3. The ball just inside the 10. Ridley in the backfield with Brady. And Brady to throw. Incomplete, close to the 5-yard line. Intended for Amendola. You see a theme here early for Mr. Brady and Mr. Amendola?
Yeah, well, there's, Tom was telling us, I told all the other receivers, you guys need to understand something. You have to do exactly what I tell you to do. And if you don't do exactly what I tell you, I'll just throw the ball to Danny. Danny might have 200 catches, and you guys will have 3. So you're going to have to learn to deal with it. He trusts Amendola to run the right route.
Third and 3. Needs the 6-yard line for a first down. Brady with time. End zone. Ruled a touchdown at the back of the end zone by Julian Edelman.
Well, Tom was afforded outstanding protection, and he stepped into and drove that football. Boy, did he throw a laser. Watch him be able to step into this right over the top. A shot into Julian Edelman. There's one. The second one is down, and if he maintains possession as he hits the ground, that's a good catch. That was really a beautiful throw and excellent work by Julian Edelman. And it's just, again, a classic case for these Patriots. The next man up. Do your job.
Stephen Gostkowski, who led the NFL in points scored last season, adds the extra point. And Tom Brady gets it started. Touchdown pass to Edelman, 7-0, New England. That is going to be a dandy. The Life and Times, the story of Lawrence Taylor, premiering Friday, September the 20th on Showtime at 8 o'clock in the evening. An amazing documentary on the trials and tribulations of one of the most feared and gifted players in the history of the National Football League.
Well, I've told you before, Greg, I thought he was the best defensive football player I ever saw. Certainly the best I ever played against. And he scared a lot of people. I mean, scared.
Marquise Goodwin is deep, and he can run, but he won't run this one out of the end zone. It's a touchback. We'll come out to the 20. Let's go back to that touchdown pass.
Well, again, I mentioned how Tom Brady was really able to drive the ball. Look how close the middle linebacker, Kiko Alonso, comes to actually getting a finger on it. That is so close. And he throws it kind of back shoulder. He sees the coverage, and look how he actually throws it in behind the coverage of Jim Leonard, who just couldn't stop his own momentum. Just a beautifully thrown ball by Brady.
So now starting it off again now is the pass from Manuel to his tight end, Scott Chandler. So there's E.J. Manuel's first completion.
And a good way to get him started. Get him, some nice, soft, easy completions, on the move a little bit, nothing challenging. It's all about building confidence. Doug Marrone telling us that's part of the learning process.
C.J. Spiller. Spiller has had himself a really tough time of it lately. Back in late August, his step-grandfather involved in a shooting incident down in Florida. 2 dead and 2 injured before killing himself. And can't imagine what it's like to have to deal with that right
No.
in the middle of anything, let alone training camp and preparing for a football season.
Nor can I.
On 3rd and 1. Manuel over the middle has his man, first down. That's Stevie Johnson, and Johnson out of bounds at the 41-yard line and a first down.
Well, you get a nice crossing pattern, and these Bills are going to run a lot of crossing patterns against New England, but it takes protection. Crossing patterns take a little while to open up, and your offensive line has got to get it done. That time the Bills did a good job of protecting Manuel, letting him set.
This is Spiller again. Spiller picking his way for a couple of yards. You know, Stevie Johnson is going to be an interesting story to watch because he has some big words to back up that he uttered earlier this week, saying basically that, well, he doesn't think that the New England Patriots have any defenders who can cover him.
Well, Stevie Johnson's never been short of confidence. And, you know, he wasn't actually just singling out New England. He said, I don't think anybody has anybody that can cover me. So it's not just New England. New England shifting, but they've got a false start going on.
Number 84, offense. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
So the Bills beset by penalties early on here. They trail 7-0.
Well, I think you got to understand something that, you know, and Bill Belichick knows this, that you've got a rookie quarterback instituting an entirely new system, a new offensive coordinator, a new head coach. Folks, here in Buffalo, there are going to be growing pains.
Manuel going to go deep down the near sideline. And it is picked off by Alonzo Dennard. Picked off by Dennard. And now it's ruled incomplete. Ruled incomplete at the 22, 23-yard line.
Well, he's trying to throw it to his receiver, Robert Woods, but as you can see, Dennard is the one that has the inside position. Now, we can't see it from that angle, but the official coming across, when he hits the ground, this is just like being a receiver. When you hit the ground, you got to maintain control of the ball, and he did not. You can see the ball skidding along the field. The same rules apply to intercepting a pass as they do to catching a pass. You got to maintain possession through the whole process.
So Manuel back to the air again. Little screen for Spiller, looking for running room and can't turn the corner and is forced out of bounds just across the 35-yard line by Devin McCourty. And that will bring on the punting unit.
Well, a good stand that time by the defensive unit of the Patriots. And we talked early on about the fact that, you know, they've got a lot of pressure on them because of the growing pains as this receiving corps tries to come around on the other side of the ball. But this is a veteran, solid defensive team for New England.
Julian Edelman is deep. And he takes it on the run at the 19-yard line. Straight up the middle and out to about the 35-yard line. Good field position for Tom Brady. And we have a penalty marker down at about the 40.
Well, at the very end
Personal
of this,
foul.
there's the face mask.
Face mask, number 52 of the kicking team. It's a 15-yard penalty. First down, New England.
Boy, that'll move the ball even further downfield for the New England Patriots. Arthur Moats guilty of the face mask. Great field position for number 12 after this.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by McDonald's. I'm loving it. And by the 2013 Ford F-150 with EcoBoost.
Back in Buffalo. From midfield, Brady and the offense. LeGarrette Blount in the backfield. Play fake to him. Brady pulls it down, now throws, and it's incomplete. Pass intended for Kenbrell Tompkins. It'll be 2nd and 10.
Well, Tompkins covered really well by Aaron Williams. Tom Brady, even with a lot of time, could not find anybody open. He had time to move around. Yeah, he ends up getting hit by Alan Branch. But this is good, solid coverage downfield. Even though he slips a little bit, that's just excellent work by Aaron Williams, the strong safety.
We are told that Patriot linebacker Brandon Spikes has gone to the locker room with a case of dehydration. We'll keep track of that. quick pass, near side, complete to Tompkins. Tompkins looking for running room and has about 3 yards. A reminder, fantasy football fans, you want to play with the best, there's still time to get started on the most awarded fantasy site. Sign up now at cbssports.com/football.
Brandon Spikes is the heavy hitter in the middle of that Patriots defense. Dehydration, not even halfway through the first quarter. You got to wonder if he doesn't have the flu or some illness. There's no way he's dehydrated from playing just a few minutes of football.
3rd and 7. Brady, quick pass, complete. Out of the backfield is Shane Vereen, and that's enough for a first down. Inside the 40 to the Buffalo 39.
Little wheel route out of the backfield by Vereen, and again, he picks it up by about a yard, maybe 2 feet. He gets the distance to move the chains. You hate to say it this early in a ball game, but wow, this is such a big series for the Bills defensively.
Here's a quick pass to Edelman, and Edelman looking for another first down inside the 30-yard line. He appears to be about a yard short.
Again, I'm talking about what this means to the Bills defensively. It's just hard to imagine the pressure that goes on E.J. Manuel in the offense if they were to fall behind 14-0 to a team that smells blood like the Patriots do.
2nd and 1. Blunt appears to have enough for the first down before he gets pushed back.
LeGarrette Blunt is 6 feet tall, 250 pounds. He is a big man, and Bill Belichick telling us that, he runs like a smaller guy. He's not really a bruising runner.
Said he runs like a 225-pounder.
I don't know if that's a compliment or not.
Brady, play fake, far side of the field. And that is incomplete. Intended for Tompkins. McKelvin on the coverage.
Yeah, you could see McKelvin had his arms extended. Again, take a look at this. Leotis McKelvin should have been flagged. He got away with that one. He really got away with that. When you see the jersey move like that, that almost always brings a flag.
On 2nd and 10, the pitch for Blunt. Tries the left side, nowhere to go.
Well, that was Arthur Moats, I think, who got all the way upfield. Talk about setting an edge. He set the edge about 3 yards in New England's backfield. Moats is number 52. Look at him scrape and get upfield. LeGarrette Blunt had absolutely nowhere to go. That was a great instinctive read by Arthur Moats.
Brady, 3 out of 4 for 3 first downs and a touchdown. 3rd and 11. Quick pass, Edelman. Edelman dodges one tackler, can't dodge the rest.
Well, that quick little bubble screen, flanker screen, whatever you want to call it, it's been a staple of the New England offense, and let's be realistic. That was just excellent work by the Bills defensively, sniffing it out and pursuing to the football. Mike Pettin, their new defensive coordinator, was defensive coordinator with the Jets for 4 years, with the Ravens before. He knows this New England offense. He knows how to defend it.
Gostowski will try this one from 48 yards out. And the kick on its way, and it's good.
Not pretty.
Doesn't have to be. It's good for 3. 10-0 Patriots. 4 minutes, 47 seconds to play here in the first quarter at Ralph Wilson Stadium. The Patriots on top by a score of 10-0. Certainly dominating possession of the football. 7 minutes, 25 seconds for New England and just 2:48 for the Buffalo Bills. And not the start yet that Doug Marrone had envisioned. Goodwin is deep. And will not run this one out either. So it will come out to the 20-yard line. Gives us a chance to remind you, coming in 2 weeks to CBS, Toni Collette and Dylan McDermott star in the 15-episode thriller Hostages, premiering Monday, September the 23rd only CBS.
Well, Doug Marrone told us he thinks the key to beating New England, you must win the turnover battle, and you have to outrush New England. Well, guess what? Spiller has 4 carries for 5 yards, and they're -1 in the turnover differential. He's losing in both categories.
Here's C.J. Spiller out to about the 28. Wonder how things are down on the sideline for the Bills. Here's Tracy.
Well, guys, we mentioned earlier they're already down 10-0 in the first quarter, but there is no panic on this Bills sideline. I was watching E.J. Manuel the whole time, just a cool cat sitting at the end of the bench, talking to his coaches, rarely talking to the other players, but just really taking everything in. And, guys, one thing of note, he reached out to rookies last year, RG3, Russell Wilson, and the one thing they told him is have confidence going in as a rookie, and that's what he does, guys.
Thanks, Tracy. He does exude confidence.
Well, when we met with him, he's either a tremendous actor or he is a cool, calm, and collected guy. I think he is the latter.
Manuel, time to throw. Over the middle, wide open. Gets his man across the 45 and out the midfield is Robert Woods, the second-round draft pick out of USC.
Well, first of all, there's a good example.
And now we have a flag down.
Hands to the face, number 77, offense. 10-yard penalty, it's still first down.
That's Cordy Glenn, and boy, the Buffalo Bills are just killing themselves with penalties so far.
Well, let's disregard the penalty and just concentrate a little bit on the positive. A good look at what E.J. Manuel can do when he's given it. That he stepped in. If you didn't realize that ball and the velocity with which it left his hand and got downfield, to see it in person, there's a guy with a live arm. Now that was a snap throw. And to a guy, Robert Woods, who is USC's leading receiver, we haven't seen the last of that.
This is Fred Jackson trying the left side for a couple out to about the 23, where Gerard Mayo makes the stop. You've made mention of it, Dan, and it was Gerard Mayo who says, well, you can see it in E.J. Manuel. He scrambles to throw, not to run.
No, he's always looking for a lane. I was a little startled when he told us that he doesn't want to run. He doesn't like to run.
C.J. Spiller back into the game. Manuel to Spiller. And Spiller actually lost a couple of yards after bringing the ball in. Kyle Arrington making the first tackle.
Arrington's been active here in the first quarter. Remember, he forced the fumble earlier, so the Patriots defense is moving well. They are really getting to the football. Big Vince Wilfork over the center. Not a big fan of up-tempo offense.
3rd and 19. That pass incomplete, intended for Spiller. Manuel under the gun and went down, but you know that up-tempo doesn't hurt you as a D lineman if they're not making first downs.
No. Well, this time New England gets some pressure. You can see it coming right in there. Chandler Jones ends up putting E.J. Manuel right on the ground. And Jones, he does a good job going around left guard Colin Brown. He's starting. Andy Levitre left in free agency. And Chandler Jones that time from the inside went right around Brown.
Julian Edelman awaits the kick from Powell. Fair catch called for and made at the 24-yard line. Boy, we've seen a lot of Tom Brady since he came into this league, and boy, he seldom disappoints. He'll be on offense after this. This programming note for you with all eyes on Syria. Charlie Rose sits down with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad for an exclusive interview tomorrow morning only on CBS This Morning. Brady and company at their own 20-yard line. 2:26 to play in the first. Patriots up 10. This is Ridley for about 3. How does E.J. Manuel measure up to Tom Brady?
Well, you can take a look. First of all, Brady's 176 start. Manuel's first. And Manuel did have the one nice completion downfield to Woods that was brought back because of a penalty on his offensive line. But I don't, that's going to be, that's quite a yardstick to be compared against on daily basis.
Bills have managed 38 total yards. They have 35 penalty yards. On 2nd and 7. Straight ahead and out across the 30 is Ridley, and that'll be a first down.
I'll say this, the Buffalo defense, they're getting after it. I mean, you can hear the collisions on the line of scrimmage all the way up here in the broadcast booth. Good look there at Manny Lawson. He's been really active so far. He stripped that ball loose from Ridley, and the early going was ruled down by contact. Brady setting the protection, calling out the Mike linebacker.
That pass is complete, and Danny Amendola having himself a nice first outing for the New England Patriots.
Well, it's such a staple of the New England offense. Out of that bunch formation, you get a clearing route that takes some of the secondary downfield, and then the short routes underneath, which are the possession routes, which means a completion will move the chains, and that's exactly what you did there. Pretty high percentage throw. A lot of those are option routes, and Amendola and Brady working on that chemistry.
3 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown for Amendola so far. This is Ridley. Ridley finds running room, left side, and almost broke it free. Dragged down by Denoris Searcy inside the 45 at the Buffalo 43-yard line.
Well, that's one of those. That's where it actually on Sunday looks the way it looks on Wednesday's practice, where everybody's blocked, and all of a sudden you take the handoff, and there is a gaping hole in front of you. That was outstanding work by Nate Solder, Logan Mankins, Ryan Wendell, and Patriots are going to let the clock run out here in the first.
That will be the end of the first quarter, and it was all New England in the opening quarter here at Ralph Wilson Stadium. The end of the first, New England leading Buffalo 10-0. We're coming back right after this. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Well, E.J. Manuel doesn't have to worry about writing home about the first quarter to his parents because they're here. This is Ridley.
One interesting observation about the first quarter, well, at least I think it's interesting. Tom Brady attempted 14 passes in the first quarter. Of those 14 attempts, not one of them was targeted a tight end. Now that is an unusual occurrence in this New England offense. And of course it's because the tight ends he's used to throwing to aren't here today. But this has been a wide receiver only part.
On 2nd and 9, knocked down in the middle of the field. And Marcel Darius was back in coverage.
And I think Tom was actually going to target his tight end. I think he was going after Human here. That's all I'm calling him, by the way. That's all the Patriots call him. Say his name.
Michael Hoomanawanui.
There you go. I said Bill Belichick. What do you say? Human. I said, have you ever pronounced his name once? And he goes, no, I can't.
So he asked Tom Brady. He said the same thing. Human. 3rd and 9. Brady under pressure and goes
there
down.
You go.
And that's Denoris Searcy.
It's no surprise Searcy comes up to the line of scrimmage. He's up there, and I think Tom Brady, here he is right over here. Watch him come in. I mean, it's no surprise. He's right there. He declared himself as blitzing when your free safety is 1 yard off the line of scrimmage, and somehow the Patriots were befuddled by that. It's either a hot read for Brady or somebody's got to pick him up.
That one will sail out of bounds well short of where Ryan Allen, the rookie punter, wanted it to land. Hey, tomorrow on Under the Dome with only 2 episodes left. You don't want to miss a minute of the summer's #1 show. New episode tomorrow at 10, 9 Central only. CBS. That's a 19-yard punt by the rookie. The Patriots cut their punter from last year.
It's Zoltan Mesko, and it was a good competition during training camp, but Mesko left. He's in Pittsburgh.
This is Fred Jackson, and Jackson has running room. out to about the 35-yard line.
And this is really up now to this offense of Buffalo. Give your defensive guys a little rest. They've been getting it done over there. I know you're down by 10 points, but let them have 3 or 4 or 5 minutes to themselves, get collected a little bit, catch their wind.
Jackson again, and Jackson up the middle for a first down. Close to midfield. Gerard Mayo with the stop.
Boy, a couple of big holes in the middle of the New England defense. I mean, that is a hole.
Brett Jackson has now gone over 6,000 yards from scrimmage for his career, and adds to that to midfield.
Eric Wood is a good, solid center for Buffalo. Urbic and Brown, they're they got a chance to be good, but they're not there yet. And so, but those last couple of runs, a lot of space in the middle.
Manuel with the flip to Spiller. Spiller out of bounds inside the 45.
That is such a high percentage, such a safe play, Greg. I mean, it's so hard to defend, and you're not being greedy. You're just going to take it 6-7 yards at a whack.
Doug Marrone told us it was going to be up-tempo, but if he has his way, the way things are going, they're not going to get anywhere near that play clock expiring.
He'd like it to be about 19 seconds.
Spiller stacked up. Joe Villano leading the charge on the New England front line.
Villano, number 72, was just standing there waiting for Spiller. And you can hear the crowd booing because the punting team is coming out onto the field. And this is still just a 10-0 ball game. You can't turn it over. A young team's psyche is very fragile. I don't fault Doug Marrone for doing this at all. This is the right move.
Edelman is deep. Angling for the sideline for the corner, but it rolls just across the goal line for the touchback. The Patriots will start from their own 20, leading 10-0. Back in Buffalo, New England gets it started from its own 20-yard line. LeGarrette Blount in the backfield with Brady. And Brady pulls it down once and then throws incomplete. Marcell Dareus making his presence known once again.
Well, Tom ends up on the ground with a pretty good shot. You see Mario Williams kind of coming in from behind, but it's going to be right there in his grill. And Marcell Dareus actually gets a hand in Tom Brady's face.
First round pick back in 11. Marcell Dareus is 6'3", 331. Second and 10. This time Shane Vereen gets the handoff and right up the middle, picks up about 7 across the 25 to the 27, where Kiko Alonso makes the stop. There's Mike Pettin. Boy, a lot of new faces, lots of new faces, and it just doesn't stop with the quarterback and the head coach here in Buffalo. That's Mike Pettin in his first year as defensive coordinator here in Buffalo.
Well, you got a new general manager in Doug Whaley, new coach, new quarterback, new offensive, everybody. You're right. This is a complete rebuild, just getting started here in Buffalo.
3rd and 4. Brady moving right, throwing incomplete off the fingertips of his intended receiver, Shane Vereen.
Well, I'm not sure Tom wanted to keep going, but Mario Williams, good job of splitting the offensive line of the Patriots and flushing him out of there. That was a really solid series by Buffalo defensively.
End over end, McKelvin thought about catching it, let it go. Oh, that's a mistake.
Yes, sir.
That's going to be down at about the 7-yard line.
That's about a 20-yard mistake.
10:42 to play in the first half. Leotis McKelvin had a chance to lock it up at the 25 and let it go.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. and by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV.
Back in Buffalo, 10-0 New England. Check out what's on tap next week. NFL on CBS throwing down a big-time doubleheader. Manning versus Manning. Peyton and Eli will face off, and it all begins with JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, and Coach Bill Cowher on the NFL Today, presented by Southwest Airlines. I'd say Mr. Peyton Manning was fairly impressive on Thursday night.
7 touchdowns will make you. It'll make you real popular with your fantasy players, won't it? That's a lot of points.
C.J. Spiller in the backfield on first down, but Manuel to throw. Gets good protection and overthrows his intended receiver. That's off the fingertips of Scott Chandler.
Well, that time E.J. Manuel, he's looking at Gerard Mayo, who's got underneath coverage and is at chase position. So he's trying to loft the ball over. Take a look. He's got outstanding protection, and he just tries to throw a touch pass, lobbing it over Mayo, and he just got a little too much air under it.
2nd and 10. Spiller. Close to the 15-yard line.
I will say this, Greg. Doug Marrone said, we're not going to hold Manuel back just because he's a rookie. And there was a good look at it. On first down, he lets him go back into his own end zone and throw on first down. That is hardly being cautious with a rookie quarterback on opening day.
Third and 3 now. That pass picked off, intercepted by the Patriots. Kyle Arrington. And he returns it to the 5.
Well, most of the players on the field acted like that wasn't an interception. There's a whole lot of standing around going. Let's take a look at this. Did that ball bounce off the ground?
It looked like it bounced off of the intended receiver, Stevie Johnson.
Let's take another close look at this. Well, I can't see it. Well, this may. Yeah, there it is. Off the ground. I thought I saw it bounce off the ground.
Previous play of an interception is under further review.
Because it's a turnover, this is automatically reviewed. Doesn't need to be a coach's challenge. This is going to remain Buffalo's ball.
Walt Anderson.
After reviewing the play, the pass hit the ground. The pass is incomplete. It'll be 4th down. Please put 10:06 on the game clock.
The pass a little bit behind Stevie Johnson, glances off of his hip, and then there it is on the ground under the knee of Kyle Arrington, and he does a good, effective job of scooping it in quickly and got up and ran with it. That was a little bit of showmanship.
Nice try.
Yeah.
Sean Powell kicking it away to Edelman. And this is a returnable kick. Edelman from his own 32. And works his way back across the 45 to about the 46 or the 47-yard line.
Well, everybody knows this is a very talented defensive line that plays for Buffalo, and Tom Brady knew that he was going to spend some time under some duress, and you can see he's having to move around in the pocket, not able to set his feet as many times as he would like. And again, this has been a quarter and 5 minutes of football where I think Tom Brady has found himself on his rear end a little more than he's comfortable being. Of course, he would like to never be there, but this is a good group, good, solid defensive line.
Brady from his own 46 on first down. Near side of the field, that's complete to Vereen, and Vereen works his way inside the Buffalo 45, close to the 40-yard line.
There's a flag on the far side of the field. Looked to me like the Bills might have got a head start.
Offside, number 55, defense. Penalty is declined. First down.
Yep. That's Jerry Hughes. He's going to be lined up at the defensive end position. He's up here at the top. You could see a good look at him. He was already well into the neutral zone by the time the ball was snapped.
Brady going to go for it all. Down the sideline, incomplete. Shane Vereen out of the back, actually not lined up in the backfield, but on the line.
Well, you had the out and up, a double move. Tom Brady gave it the pump. Everything went perfectly according to plan until the ball left Tom's hand. Watch, here's the out, there's the pump, and then Tom just overthrows it. You won't see that happen very often. That was well done, except it was not a good throw from number 12.
50 to Mike! Wait, 80!
On 2nd and 10, this is Ridley, and Ridley up the middle, running room, first down, inside the 30 to the 29.
There's Mario Williams. He's going to move around a lot in this defense. You know, his position right there is to hold the outside shoulder of that tackle.
This is Ridley again, and we have a flag down inside the 10-yard line.
There was no offensive substitution. Defense, 12 players on the field. That's a 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
You can see the confusion there. We've got a sprint for the sideline, and that player is a good 10 yards from the sideline.
Not even close.
No, not even close. And what Walt Anderson meant by that is that the Patriots didn't substitute offensively, so defensively the pressure's on you. You got to get off in time. You don't get to be comfortable substituting.
This is Ridley. And Ridley lost the football. Picked up by the Bills. This is Denoris Searcy. Searcy going to take it the length of the field. The question is he down back upfield?
Well, is he down by contact? That's the key. He's got to be down by contact. If he just falls down, that's not enough. He goes to make a cut. He trips over his own feet. And I think that football was out before he was contacted by a Buffalo Bill.
For a touchdown.
Ridley loses his footing. He slides. He hasn't been touched. The ball is loose. And there's the first time he is touched. That is a fumble. It's being automatically reviewed because it's a turnover, but I think that was really well officiated.
It's under further review.
And if it stands up, that is a 75-yard fumble return for a touchdown by Denoris Searcy.
I think it stands.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Bose, the official home audio sponsor of the NFL. And by the U.S. Postal Service. Schedule your free package pickup today.
We're still awaiting the decision from Walt Anderson.
Well, Stephen Ridley goes down untouched and, to me, loses control of the football before he is contacted by a defender. I think that is a Buffalo touchdown.
And Anderson has seen it, and here he comes.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed.
What a boost that is for a Buffalo Bills team that has struggled so far this afternoon.
When I first saw that play, I thought Stephen Ridley had really injured. I thought he blew out a knee or something, the way he went down and the ball coming loose. But physically, he appears to be fine.
Extra point is good. 8:25 to play in the first half, and Buffalo on the board for the first time. They trailed by 3 at 10-7. Let's go back and another look.
And again, initially I thought Ridley had really hurt himself, but you know, he was not digging to regain possession of that football. He just kind of stayed there on his hands and knees. He should have been scrambling like crazy.
It's amazing, Dan. It's a matter of maybe a second. If a Bills defender gets to him a second sooner, then he's down by contact.
Oh, no question.
And the Patriots are going in.
No question. Then the old adage, the ground can't cause a fumble. Well, that's only true if you're sent to the ground by a defender who hits you. If you hit the ground on your own, the ground can very well cause a fumble.
And that play has injected some new life into this Buffalo crowd.
Well, yeah, the sad part, when he was there on his knees, there wasn't anyone within 30 yards of him. He couldn't find a friendly shoulder to cry on anywhere close. He was looking anybody anywhere.
From the 5-yard line, it's LeGarrette Blount. And Blount trying to turn the corner. He does turn the corner and run out of bounds at about the 26, 27-yard line.
Hey, Craig, when's the last time you saw a guy weighing 250 returning kickoffs? That might be setting a weight standard that we haven't seen before.
Maybe on one of those short kicks when an up lineman grabs it.
Okay. Yeah, we saw Dan Connolly run one back. That was either on a Sunday night or a Monday night game where he had that big kickoff return, I think.
New England's plus 25 turnover differential last season, the best in the NFL.
All right, well,
this fumble cost them here.
Yeah. This will be a motivated Tom Brady leading this offense on this series.
Brady throws the other way, and that's complete. Edelman across the 30 to about the 32.
Well, it's a team game, and the Buffalo Bills just showed you that that's very much in evidence here. This crowd needed that so desperately. But they're looking down the barrel of this guy right now, Tom Brady. He likes to close the door.
This is Blount for a couple. I think this Buffalo defense has played very well here today.
Well, they have. And you notice who's in the backfield and who's not. Stephen Ridley is over on the New England bench/doghouse. And we'll see how long it takes him to get back on the field.
3rd and 4. Shane Vereen in the backfield. And action on the front line, and is this going to go against Buffalo again?
Well, Kyle Williams moved. The question is, was Dan Connolly reacting to that?
Neutral zone infraction, number 95, defense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Dan Connolly's reaction to me was a little bit delayed, but he got the call. It's supposed to be, when the defensive lineman moves into that neutral zone, if you trigger an instant response. Let's see if Dan Connolly's response is instant. There goes Williams. I think Dan Connolly got his team 5 yards, but he took a chance.
Brady with all kinds of time and throws this side of the field complete to Kenbrell Tompkins.
What an outstanding piece of work by the front line of the Patriots. Dante Scarnecchia's group, they gave Tom Brady all the time in the world. And Kenbrell Tompkins did a good job of coming back against McKelvin and getting open. Nate Solder, Mario Williams, good battle there.
This is LeGarrette Blount. As Blount inside the 40. Brought down by Alan Branch. At halftime, and there are many things to worry about at halftime, but one of the things I'm sure running through Doug Marone's mind is, where would we be without all of these penalties?
Well, a good point. And they hurt themselves there. And the turnover. They turned the ball over deep in their own territory. They made it really easy for New England to capitalize and score a touchdown. But that's what young teams do.
On 2nd and 5. Blount. Manny Lawson with the stop.
Nowhere to go there. Again, Manny Lawson set a good edge and gave no options to LeGarrette Blount. He had nowhere to go.
So now it's a 3rd and 5.
But Tom Brady going up-tempo himself. No huddle for the Patriots.
Vereen in the backfield. With time, near sideline, complete, out of bounds. No, incomplete. Didn't get the feet down. Leotis McKelvin covering.
Now, Kendrell Tompkins is a rookie from Cincinnati. This is a 2 feet down league. College football is only one. That had been a nice little catch in college. Not here. He has got to work at he's got to tap that left foot down instead of taking a step. He's got to throw that toe down towards the turf and try to dot the I.
So now the rookie Ryan Allen. Much better effort than the last time. Drops it down at the 5. And it bounces forward to the 10-yard line, and that's where Buffalo will take it over on offense. Hey, this week, don't miss the show that's in the league by itself with guys who take on all 32 teams and each other every week. James Brown, Phil Simms, Chris Collinsworth with the artistry of NFL films and the chemistry of the boys. Catch Inside the NFL Wednesday at 9 only on Showtime.
Greg, on that punt, Matthew Slater showed why he's a Pro Bowler and why he's a captain of this football team for New England. That was an outstanding job of knocking that ball back and keeping it from going into the end zone for a touchback.
Across the 15 to the 16-yard line is C.J. Spiller. As we dip under 5 minutes to play in the first half.
And again, Spiller ran the ball last year for a 6-yard per carry average. He's averaging about 3 yards a carry so far in this game.
Yeah, right back at it. Here's the flip to T.J. Graham, and Graham around the left side, looking for the first down, and he looks like he got it.
And there's a late flag. Alfonso Dennard was the defensive back over there for the Patriots, and it looked like he ended up throwing Graham to the ground when he was well out of bounds.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 37, defense, 15-yard penalty, first down.
And here comes Graham. He's out of bounds. The play is over. And while it didn't look like a lot, there was just no reason for Dennard to continue to hold on Graham's leg and then torque it and twist him down.
Spiller breaks a couple of tackles and gets out to about the 38-yard line.
C.J. Spiller is just having to work and grind for every yard. Not that running backs in this league don't do that on a routine basis, but the Patriots are not giving him much of an alley, much of a crease.
1,244 rushing yards last year to go along with his 6 touchdowns. Manuel, that's complete to Spiller. And here comes a late flag. That looks like it might be a block in the back.
After the catch and during the run, illegal block in the back, number 84, offense. It's a 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. It'll still be second down.
Well, Scott Chandler, the tight end, was the bill that was flagged for that block in the back.
Fred Jackson now checking into the backfield.
The 7th penalty for Buffalo.
Second and 11. Andrew, short pass. Lost the football. Picked up at the 35-yard line by Rob Ninkovich. And did he hold that ball long enough? Marquise Goodwin made the catch.
Well, that's the question. Let's take a look at it. Here's Goodwin.
By New England.
He puts the football away. He executes a football move. There's no question in my mind that was a legitimate catch and then a fumble. That ball is stripped out before he's going down to the ground. Kyle Arrington again in on the play. I don't believe he's down before the ball's loose. Absolutely not. That is a fumble, and I think he executed every requirement of making a legitimate catch. He secured the football, he turned upfield, he got both feet down, and he was playing football.
Well, you see,
and Arrington then ripped the ball out.
You see Doug Marrone talking to his team there. The Buffalo Bills have made enough mistakes here in the first half to cover a couple of games.
And again, remember this is automatically reviewed from the booth upstairs, called for by the booth upstairs because it's a turnover.
Marquise Goodwin is a speedster. He's a third-round draft pick. He's one of the many new faces on this Bills team, but another turnover.
Well, I'm telling you who's playing himself a football game is Kyle Arrington. This guy is everywhere. He is forcing fumbles. He's tackling. He's defending. This guy, hard to play a much better half for a defensive back than Kyle Arrington's turning in so far. And we've seen Walt Anderson under the hood a fair piece here to get this 2013 season started. This isn't going to be so good for his suntan, being under that hood all this time.
Because that's what you worry about when you come to Buffalo, is getting your suntan.
Tread lightly. Tread lightly.
Here's Walt.
After the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed. First down, New England.
And that's just another Buffalo mistake.
Yep. That's what good football teams do. In a 3-year span, plus 70. That is a mind-numbing number.
I told you earlier that plus 25 led the NFL last season, and right up the middle is Vereen, and Vereen close to the 10-yard line.
Did you see Shane Vereen? First of all, it's tremendous blocking. He gets right through there. Take a look at this. Just excellent. But look at him cover up that football. When he senses the Buffalo traffic is coming in from both directions, that other hand, he goes Ohio State on that football and covers it up with both hands. He doesn't want to be where Stephen Ridley is right now.
First and 10 from the 11. 3:10 to play in the first half. Brady gonna run it and gets hit at the line of scrimmage. Marcel Darius.
Well, credit the Bills secondary for that. Tom Brady had nowhere to go, and there's Danny Amendola, who missed some time in training camp with a groin problem, and he looks to be hobbled. And Tom Brady it was good pass protection, and that is something he does not want to do. Boy, and there's Amendola, and he's, again, that groin injury cost him the last couple weeks of training camp.
Rookie Josh Boyce has come into the lineup to replace him. A couple of yards up the middle for Shane Vereen.
And we talked at the top of this telecast about Danny Amendola and all his tools, but can he stay healthy? Coming across the formation, right there, he's going to try to plant, and you can see he just...
2 minutes to play here in Buffalo. 10-7 New England. The Patriots inside the 10-yard line. 3rd and 7. Brady into the end zone, wide open, touchdown to Edelman, his second of the day. Another fine job of the offensive line protecting Tom Brady.
Boy, you got that right. We saw Tom Brady right before that have to scramble out when he couldn't find anybody open, have to run with it. This time he is in the proverbial rocking chair. He's looking left, glancing back to the right. And there he finds, getting away and finding a hole in that Buffalo zone, Julian Edelman.
Gostkowski's extra point is good, and with a minute 55 to play in the first half, New England regains its 10-point lead at 17-7.
Again, let's take a look at Tom Brady. The Buffalo pass rush is just nowhere to be seen. I mean, there's not even anyone even coming close to getting loose. Logan Mankins in front of him does a tremendous job against Kyle Williams. Tom threw it only because he had a wide open guy in the end zone. Looked to me like he could have held that for another 3 or 4 seconds.
And lest you think that coaches sometimes overstate things, 21 of the 24 points that have been scored here today have come off turnovers.
Yep. They've led to 14, so it's again, the Buffalo mistakes. But it's what young teams do. And that we showed you that graphic about the Patriots being plus 70. You know, that's why you win. It's just, you couldn't lose if you tried being plus 70 over 3 years.
Marquise Goodwin is deep in the end zone. And he will not run this one out either.
Well, a little taste of what's happened so far here in the first half. DJ Spiller, he's stripped by Arrington. That leads to this touchdown throw to Julian Edelman from Tom Brady. Then Stephen Ridley lets Buffalo back into the game. And that leads to that return by the Buffalo Bills. And then once again, Buffalo fumbles. And guess what that's going to lead to? Another Edelman touchdown reception from Tom Brady.
E.J. Manuel now. Little pass complete over the middle. Fred Jackson, and Jackson out of bounds at about the 27-yard line.
Well, this is a wonderful learning experience for E.J. Manuel. Inside 2 minutes, and you got a lot of field to try to cover. This is, regardless of how this ends up, a wonderful learning opportunity for this rookie quarterback.
Buffalo with 2 timeouts remaining. 2nd and 3, Manuel on the move and diving forward. May have gained a yard. It'll be 3rd and 2. Clock continues to move, 1.5 minutes to play.
And again, here's the one problem with the hurry-up offense. If they don't convert this 3rd down, Tom Brady's going to get a chance.
That quick pass is knocked down over the middle, intended for Chandler and knocked down by Steve Gregory.
Yeah, and there you go. 3 hyper-quick plays, and now New England's offense is going to get back out on the field, and there's a minute and 20 seconds left, and they got all 3 of their timeouts. And I got news for you, folks. That man is greedy. Number 12 is a greedy quarterback.
It's kind of a live by the sword, die by the sword situation, isn't it, Dan?
He is not going in there just to kill some time so he can go in and have a game with it. Edelman
going to let it bounce, and it rolls out of bounds. While they spot the ball, we'll remind you coming up, the Verizon halftime report. JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, Coach Bill Cowher have all the latest NFL scores and highlights, and a special preview of the U.S. Open's women's final. Victoria Azarenka and Serena Williams. That's all coming up on the Verizon halftime report.
Well, there's Danny Amendola, not where Tom Brady would like to see him, standing over on the sideline. And we're really looking at a New England offense now that has just a lot of question marks at the receiving position. Except for Julian Edelman, we know what he can do.
Brady throwing far side of the field, and that's Vereen out of the backfield. Let's check in with Tracy downstairs.
Well, guys, the good news is that he's still out here on the sideline with just a minute left in the game. He could be in the locker room if it was that bad. Obviously, we saw he re-injured that groin. He spent the time stretching it. He put his helmet on. He was about to walk back out there, and one of the coaches just held him back. So he's looking to get back in, guys.
Thanks, Tracy. Brady. That is intercepted. Justin Rogers, and Rogers out of bounds.
I think if finally they were going to go to a tight end, that was Zach Sudfeld. I believe number 44, the 6'7" rookie.
We have seen some amazing bounces of the football here in the first half.
All right, Tom Brady taking a look at this. He's got his big target, and no question about it, it's on the palms of Sudfeld, and then it goes right to Rodgers. That ball wasn't even close to coming in contact with the ground. Well, you don't need me to tell you, again, that because this is a turnover, it's automatically reviewed. And Walt Anderson is, again, going to lose some valuable sunning. Sudfeld stumbled coming out of his break. And Rodgers coming over, and the ball just ends up right in his chest.
Dan, can you consider him down by contact?
Well, let's see. Yes, you would, I guess, Greg. That's a very good point. He ended up on the ground, but he didn't have possession of the football. Well, this is going to be very interesting because he didn't have possession of the football. Yes, yeah,
sure he did.
Yes, yeah, he did. I was thinking he was still fighting for, to regain complete control of the ball. So no, he would be down by contact. Yes. I think it's going to come back.
This could come all the way back to the 37.
There's no question it's an interception, but it will come back to that point. And you're right. We have seen the football in some bizarre places and some unusual plays in this first 29 minutes of football of 2013.
I wonder if Doug Marrone wonders if the NFL head coaching situation is always like this, where you can be pretty much thoroughly outplayed in the first half, shoot yourself in the foot several times, and you could be very much in this game at halftime if they score here.
After review, after the interception, the defender's hand is touching the body of the receiver, which puts him down by contact at the 37-yard line. Please put 1:03 on the game clock.
So they will back it up, but Buffalo gets the football.
And I think the big problem for Sudfeld was that he stumbled coming out of his break, and he lost his balance, and he just wasn't in a position to try to control the football. But unfortunately for New England, he kept it live long enough to go right into the hands of Rodgers.
So let's see what E.J. Manuel can do. Over the middle, got his man. Scott Chandler inside the 20 to the 18-yard line. Clock continues to move.
Oh, good job by Chandler of holding on to the football, taking a big hit. For Scott Chandler, 6'7", 265, a big man himself.
First red zone visit of the day. Manuel going to the end zone, touchdown! Robert Woods! And the first NFL touchdown for both those rookies.
And I think Robert Woods somehow gets away from Aqib Talib. All right, E.J. Manuel, he's working the right side of the field. And you can see Talib immediately is going in and looking inside to have a conversation with the safety inside. Now, it's impossible to speculate whose mistake that was, but there's no doubt that Robert Woods was turned loose by the New England secondary. Aqib Talib is the best cover guy, the best man cover guy in the New England secondary. It looked like he turned Woods loose, expecting some over-the-top help.
Extra point is good, and it's now a 17-14 New England lead.
Yeah, that's some kind of a mistake by either Talib or the safety to the inside. But that little double move there by Robert Woods, maybe Talib was man all the way and got fooled that badly. That would be really unusual for Aqib Talib. And I'm sure that when E.J. Manuel looked up and saw Robert Woods that wide open, he could hardly believe it. Well, points off turnovers. Oh, 2 touchdowns apiece.
But Garrett Blunt is deep. And Blunt will not run this out of the end zone. And so Brady will start from his own 20 as you take a look at the quarterback numbers.
Well, the thing that is upsetting, I'm sure, to Tom Brady, he's unhappy that this has become a 3-point ball game, but that actually goes in the books as an interception, and he picked 6 against him.
And Brady will take a knee, and that will do it for the rest of the first half. An interesting first half, to say the least. The Buffalo Bills didn't do an awful lot right, and yet they're right there. We have come to the end of the first half. Eventful for that young man, E.J. Manuel. New England 17, Buffalo 14. We're coming back with the Verizon Halftime Report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Back in Buffalo, there's our halftime score. The Patriots by 3 over the Bills by a score of 17-14. We'll take a look at our DirecTV Ultimate Picture Cam, and just before halftime, E.J. Manuel with his first NFL touchdown pass. Robert Woods, his first NFL touchdown catch to pull the Bills to within 3. It's 17-14. Greg Gumbel along with Dan Deerdorf back at Ralph Wilson Stadium. It was a strange first half, to say the least, Dan, because so many mistakes by the Buffalo Bills, and yet they're right in it.
Well, when New England got out to a 10-0 start, there were a couple possessions there where the Buffalo defense really did a good job because the game was on the verge of being busted wide open. And they made a couple stands, and then, you know, as you mentioned, the turnovers start happening, and they're an equalizer. They bring New England back to Buffalo's level.
Yeah, I would imagine Bill Belichick had a few choice words for his troops at halftime. You take a look at some of the halftime numbers, and you see the New England Patriots with an edge in rushing yardage and passing yardage and total yards, but the turnovers are equal, and turnovers have been a big part of this game.
And somehow Buffalo, with those 7 penalties that they committed, they're still very much in this football game. And, you know, at the very end, when New England got that possession, Greg, we going, well, this is, you know, a mistake by Buffalo running 3 quick plays and turning the ball back over to Tom Brady. Who knew that it was going to end up being a 7-point play for Buffalo?
They had time to get down to the other end and score, and it's a 17-14 game. And if you will recall, Buffalo won the opening toss and deferred, so they get the football first here in the second half. T.J. Graham is deep. And Graham will not get to return this one. It'll come out to the 20-yard line, and we check in with Tracy Wilson. Tracy.
Well, guys, I had a chance to speak with both coaches. First off, on the Buffalo sideline, Doug Marrone said that touchdown pass gave E.J. Manuel confidence, and that's what they needed. But you said it, the penalties just killed them. Then I had a chance to speak with Bill Belichick. Very different, obviously, man of not many words. I asked him about Amendola, and he just said, we'll just have to wait and see. He's questionable, like we said. And then I asked him about Stephen Ridley. I said, will he remain sidelined? Was that a coach's decision? And he said, we will do what's best for our team. Guys?
All right, Tracy, thank you. C.J. Spiller starts it off with a run. Breaking tackles across the 25 and out of bounds, maybe a yard or two short of a first down.
Well, I'll tell you, Stephen Ridley, whether he comes back or not is, my guess is no. If they can get by without him, my guess is he will not be back.
Rob Ninkovich putting the clamps on C.J. Spiller, who was looking for first down yardage, and this is very, very close to a first down, but it appears it'll be 3rd and inches.
And C.J. Spiller, when he gets out in the open, he is a fun guy to watch. Try to evade people. He has got some lateral quickness that few people possess.
This is Fred Jackson. He gets the first down out to the 31-yard line. So 3 running plays get E.J. Manuel and the Bills a new set of downs.
But again, this is the new Buffalo Bills offense. No huddle. E.J. Manuel running it all from the line of scrimmage.
Right up the middle. Jackson. Steve Gregory.
Well, we're being told that Marquise Goodwin, the wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills, he's got a hand injury and he will not return to this game. The rookie from Texas.
And this is Jackson again. Meanwhile, Danny Amendola is yet to make an appearance from the locker room here in the second half.
Now the good news for New England is that Brandon Spikes is back on the field. He's been playing and he had to go in initially for some dehydration problems.
Manuel. Scrambling. Running. Room to run. 40. Out of bounds, close to the 35-yard line, and a first down for the Bills.
Well, it's one of the problems if your secondary is playing man coverage when a quarterback can run the way E.J. Manuel does, is that if they've got their backs turned, they're not seeing what's happening once he gets beyond the line of scrimmage.
This is Spiller trying the left side.
And the interesting thing about E.J. Manuel is he doesn't have Robert Griffin III type speed, but when he's out in space, he seems to gobble it up in a hurry. He's a long strider, and he's not a 4.3 40 guy. He's in that 4.5 range, somewhere around there. He's fast, but he's not a blazer.
On second and 7, they keep it on the ground with Fred Jackson. And big Vince Wilfork in on the stop. How about Vince Wilfork walking in and looked like a brand spanking new Miami Hurricanes baseball cap into our meeting last night.
Well, they beat the University of Florida for the first time in a long time, and Big Vince was mighty proud of his alma mater.
Manuel over the middle, got his man, Jackson, out of the backfield, and that'll be a first down.
Well, how good of a drive is this by Buffalo? A nice mixture of throwing the football and some good solid running. And that's a nice throw by Manuel, right on the hands of his running back who doesn't have to break stride.
Back to the running game. Spiller inside the 20 to about maybe the 18.5-yard line. Gerard Mayo, Steve Gregory.
And Big Vince is hanging in there on the New England defense. This up-tempo offense is not a big man's friend. And right there you can see that Colin Brown had absolutely no success moving Vince out of the way.
Second and 7. Manuel lobbing for the end zone. Touchdown! Stevie Johnson.
Well, sometimes defensively, you think you do everything right. You think your coverage is solid. You've got two guys. You've got a safety inside. You've got a corner underneath. And Stevie Johnson and E.J. Manuel beat the coverage. The coverage was exactly what they wanted on Stevie Johnson, but a perfect throw and just a half a step late by both the corner and the safety result in a Buffalo touchdown.
And a big smile on the face of the rookie head coach of the Buffalo Bills.
Well, how good Stevie Johnson, we know what kind of a player he is. How good of a throw was that from E.J. Manuel?
The Bills go 80 yards in 11 plays to grab their first lead of the day.
Well, this play is under review because it's a touchdown. It's got to be confirmed.
So they'll review it. We'll take a break. We'll come back for Walt Anderson's decision. Here's Walt Anderson.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed. Touchdown.
E.J. Manuel's second touchdown pass of the day.
Well, when you go to the ground after making that catch, you have to maintain complete control of the football. and it's pretty impossible to have control of the football any more completely than Stevie Johnson had.
And Carpenter's extra point attempt is good. 11:03 to play in the third. And Buffalo with a 21-17 lead. Stevie Johnson on the receiving end. And on the other side, Tom Brady. Now looking up. 21-17 deficit.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Chrysler, imported from Detroit. And by Bud Light, it's the sure sign of a good time. Here we go.
Back to a rejuvenated Ralph Wilson Stadium here in Buffalo, where the Bills have grabbed the 21-17 lead on New England. We were coming into the stadium, Dan, there were no lack of tailgaters, were there?
No. The RVs started rolling in a couple days ago, and it's just a beautiful fall day. Temperatures in the upper 60s. It is a pretty day to play football. And of course, the Ralph here is what now, 40 years old? 40, yeah. The ball falls off the tee, has to be reset.
Now the focus will go back to a Buffalo defense that has played very well here today. Tracy tells us from the sideline that Danny Amendola has come back onto the sideline. We'll see if he takes to the field in this next set of downs as that kick goes through the end zone. So Tom Brady now down on the scoreboard. This was Brady just a few moments ago on the sideline, rallying the troops. We were talking about it with him last night, Dan. He turns around and realizes he's the oldest guy on the team.
Well, he's a teacher to the young players, but he is the leader of this entire team. There is Danny Amendola. He's got his gloves on. He's got a chin strap partially buckled, but he's on the sideline, not on the field.
On first down, Brady running out of time, throws, and that is incomplete. Far side of the field, pass intended for Josh Boyce, the rookie out of TCU.
And you just look at where Tom Brady is right now in terms of his receiving weapons, and it's just hard to believe that in just the span of one football season that there could actually be this much change from how they finished the season to how they're starting this year.
There's Danny Amendola back onto the field on 2nd and 10. Green, first down and much more, out to the 40.
And Danny Amendola ends up throwing a good block out of the slot. But Nate Solder and Logan Mankins and Ryan Wendell, they make this happen. There's Amendola right there blocking on Ridley. Good job. Get in there and fight.
Green again. To the 45.
Boy, all of a sudden now you've got a New England offensive line that's back-to-back created some nice creases for their running back.
25! Here we go, Alabama. 180!
Brady again to Green. And Green tripped up at the line of scrimmage, falls forward to the 46. The New England running game a season ago averaged 136.5 yards a game. That was 7th best in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, you just think passing game, you think of, they had Hernandez and Gronk running down the seams, and they had West all over the field. That snuck up on a lot of people, I think, that number 7 ranking.
3rd and 3. Brady, quick pass across midfield and into Buffalo territory is Amendola.
Well, that exact that exact play is why Danny Amendola was signed. They're, again, classic New England. Edelman running a clearing pattern, and then Amendola breaks it off underneath. We saw Wes Welker do that a million times. So hard to defend, especially when there's a really low, accurate throw, and that receiver goes down and digs it out. Really high completion percentage.
4 catches, 46 yards for Amendola today. That quick pass, and that falls incomplete. Kenbrell Tompkins, the intended receiver, and Leotis McKelvin covered.
Well, that's just good defense. That screen never had an opportunity to set up. That's where the week of working against it pays off. Leotis McKelvin just beats Nate Solder to the spot. Solder can't do anything about it. McKelvin closes so quickly and kills the play.
2nd and 10. Vereen, right side. Nothing there. Changes direction. Not much there either. Denoris Searcy. Right there in the middle of your screen, Robert Kraft. 20 seasons now he has owned these New England Patriots. 12 division titles, 6 conference championships, 3 Super Bowl trophies. Third and 10.
Well, you can see the Mike Penton influence on the defense. Nobody in a 3-point.
That is caught by Vereen, and Vereen inside the 30 to the 29. There was a penalty marker down, and I believe the Bills jumped on the snap.
Offside, number 55, defense. Penalty is declined. First down.
That's the second time today that Jerry Hughes has been offside in a pass rush situation. Here he is up here, and take a look at this. He's going to get the early start. And again, you know, he's trying to get upfield on Vollmer, which he did, but he did it illegally. But you could see the Mike Penton influence on that defense that time. All 11 guys were standing up. Nobody got down in a 3-point stance.
This is LeGarrette Blount, and LeGarrette Blount inside the 25. Let's get an NFL Today update from New York. JB.
Drew Brees is second of the day. Tried this time 7 yards to Jimmy Graham. Play action fake. Looks down the middle, finds him in the flat. He breaks the tackle. He goes in. Saints take the lead 20-17 over the Falcons.
Strong NFC South battle taking place there. Greg, Dan, and Tracy.
All right, guys, thank you.
50's the
2nd and
line!
6. Vereen. To about the 24.
Well, this is a situation as Mario Williams is a spectator on the sideline. I don't know if he's got a physical problem or why he's not in there.
A lot of the big guys have come to the sideline.
And again, here's the 3 receivers to this side for New England. We'll see if they clear and run a short one underneath.
Brady throwing right wide open. Amendola to the 5.
Well, that time they threw a curveball at Buffalo. Rather than Amendola break it off, it was Edelman who broke it off, and Amendola goes down the seam. And Tom Brady locates him, and Buffalo wasn't ready for it. Watch, there goes Edelman to the inside, and then you saw a Buffalo defender, Denoris Searcy, slip and fell to the ground, and Amendola breaks for the goal line, and Brady finds it.
Brady 3 out of 3 on 3rd down on this drive. Now 1st and goal. Throwing to about the 2. Tompkins.
And again, that is just one of the things that Tom Brady does so well. That quick little pass into the middle.
And Brady back at it in a hurry on 2nd and goal.
He had to wait a little bit there to get Edelman back in on the wing. He wasn't supposed to split out.
Brady looking back, end zone, incomplete. Kenbrell Tompkins pulled it in, but didn't come down inside the end zone.
Yeah, Kenbrell Tompkins didn't leave himself any. He didn't leave himself any room at the back of the end zone. Tom Brady finds him and throws it, but by the time he goes up in the air, he's already out of play. You've got to run that pattern with enough room left for you to go up and come down and still be in the end zone.
Tom Brady can and will run the football. He had 4 rushing touchdowns last season. 3rd and goal. 3. Short of the goal line. Decision time for Bill Belichick.
Wow, did you hear that hit? That's big boy football right there. Looks like Kiko Alonso was the first Buffalo Bill in there, and I say you go for it. You're inside, you're at the 1-foot line. You don't kick a field goal from the 1-foot line.
LeGarrette Blount is deep back, lost the handle on the football.
Tom Brady came out of there without a football.
And the Bills have it. One way or another, it'll be Buffalo football. Kiko Alonso.
And the 3rd turnover of the day for the Patriots. It looked like it hit Tom in the hands. He was leaning back, and he had started to come out of there and just couldn't get the handle on the football.
The Buffalo defense stands tall. Buffalo with the ball and a 4-point lead.
Here's Kiko Alonso right here. Let's take a look at this. He's going to end up with the football. The question is he down by contact? No.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think a Patriot touched him when he was down on the ground. He's free to get up and take off with the ball.
Here's Walt Anderson.
After he's doing the play, the ruling on the field stands. First down, Buffalo.
That's a big difference from snapping the ball at your own 1-yard line.
Absolutely. 23 games since Tom Brady has lost a fumble. And it looked to me like Ryan Wendell, the center, looks like that ball was there. He drove it up, and I think Tom was just in a hurry to get out of there and just mishandled the ball.
Manuel rolling. This is Spiller. And Spiller knocked out of bounds at about the 16-yard line. Rob Ninkovich doing the damage.
Well, by the violence and the sheer noise that's being generated by the contact down on the field, you realize that preseason football is over with. The regular season, it has started.
Manuel. Out of bounds, close to the 20. They'll rule him out at the 19.
Has the Buffalo offense come alive? First 7 possessions, not much going on, to say the least. 14 points in the last 2.
3rd and 5 now. Manuel, Jackson, first down and more, out of bounds at the 30.
Well, the Buffalo Bills have a really powerful 1-2 punch in C.J. Spiller and Fred Jackson. And Fred Jackson, being the old man of the group right there, shows you his skills. He's a better pass blocker than Spiller, and he's a better route runner, and with good, soft hands.
He'll set it down for Manuel. Give it to Jackson, and Jackson up the middle. To the 40. You know, what gets lost in the shuffle, Dan, not only do turnovers give a team terrific field advantage, but it also is a big boost to the mental.
Oh,
game.
absolutely. Well, this was a 10-0 ball game. Buffalo was on the verge of being embarrassed in front of their home crowd. So
Nothing there for Fred Jackson.
right now they got to be feeling not just good about themselves. They're professionals. These guys all came. Most of them came from winning programs. These guys all, to a man, think we're going to win this game.
3rd and 1.
You know, just because you come to a losing franchise doesn't mean that you have a big L stamped on your forehead.
Manuel going to throw it. Out here, that's Jackson, midfield, into New England territory and out of bounds inside the 45. We have a penalty marker back in the backfield.
Well, I just can't tell you how good a catch that was by Fred Jackson.
Illegal hands to the face, number 60, offense, 10-yard penalty, still third down.
It's coming back because of the penalty on Urbic. But this was just way too far out in front of Fred Jackson. That I know maybe you're at home going, well, that doesn't look that hard. Right guard Urbic right there, right in the middle against Villano. And he got his hand right up underneath the face mask.
So now instead of 3rd and 1, it's 3rd and 11.
And that's penalty number 8 for Buffalo.
Look out. Manuel spins out of trouble. Rolls, throws, complete. That won't be enough for a first down. It's complete to Stevie Johnson.
Well, it wasn't enough for a first down, but it showed us a little something about E.J. Manuel for being a guy that big. He got away from Chandler Jones, one of the more athletic defensive ends in the league. That was a nice little pirouette he did to get away.
So Julian Edelman stands back at his 10. And Sean Powell getting set to kick it away. Bouncing and downed inside the 5-yard line by Marcus Easley. 57-yard punt. Brady has his work cut out for him.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state. And by Pizza Hut. Make it great.
Well, we said at the outset of our broadcast today what challenges Tom Brady faced, and that's talking about who's going to catch the football from him. Well, no completions to his tight end.
I think we got a false start by the Patriots.
False start, number 61, offense. Half the distance to the goal, still first down.
You know, Brady was intercepted in the last 2 minutes of the first half. That's something that didn't happen at all last season. He also lost his first fumble in 2 years just a short while ago.
Well, keep in mind the interception was on the hands of his tight end before it ended up being an interception.
Brady going to throw far side of the field and out of bounds. No, Edelman.
Yeah, Julian Edelman can't handle the football on the sideline. This would have only been good for about 3 or 4 yards. Perfect throw from Tom Brady. Can't do any better than that. Julian Edelman normally handles that ball. Amendola in the huddle. Remember he came out in the first half?
Hobbled.
With that groin tightened up.
There is number 80, Amendola. Brady. Quick pass behind his intended receiver, Vereen. 3rd down.
And that's just a timing issue. Tom Brady expecting Shane Vereen to run his route a little more to the outside. And boy, this crowd will be in full throat here. They don't get a chance to do this as often as they'd like.
Quick pass. Cut down across the 5 is Ho'omana Wanui. Not enough for the first down. New England will kick.
And the first completion of the day to a New England tight end. Doesn't move the chains.
The newcomer Jim Leonard, the veteran, just signed, makes that tackle.
And when you say just signed, his first practice was Wednesday.
Just signed.
But because he played in Mike Pettine's system in both New York and Baltimore, he was able to grasp it.
Leotis McKelvin says leave this one alone. And it flies out of bounds. This is going to be terrific field position for the Buffalo Bills when all is said and done. And under a half minute to play here in the third quarter. Doug Marrone told us our idea, our philosophy is to go as fast as we can. He says the more plays you run, the more opportunities you have. His team now at the 42. Spiller, no place to go. And we have a penalty marker on the field.
Holding number 11 offense. That penalty is declined. It's second down.
T.J. Graham guilty of the hold.
Well, wide receivers, most of them aren't great blockers. And there's where it's over. It's already over. Dennard got upfield on Graham, and he decides after he's already passed me, maybe this is when I'll start to block him. Well, the only way you block a guy who's passed you is to grab him.
The Buffalo Bills are going to let this third quarter clock run out and go into the fourth quarter with the lead at the end of 3. Buffalo leads the Patriots 21-17. We're coming back to Ralph Wilson Stadium after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Along with our producer Mark Wolf, our director Suzanne Smith, Greg Gumbel, Dan Deerdorf, Tracy Wolfson. We start the fourth quarter. Buffalo with a 21-17 lead. C.J. Spiller at the 45-yard line.
Well, Doug Marrone told us to beat New England, he thought you had to win the turnover battle and you have to outrush them. At the end of 3 quarters, the Bills are +1 in the turnover differential, and they're outrushing the Patriots by 5 yards. They are ahead in both categories after 3.
Manuel going to pour it all down the sideline and overthrows T.J. Graham.
Well, it was overthrown, and it was about 3 yards out of bounds as well. And this is what's going to be interesting to watch this fourth quarter, because good football teams play their best football in the fourth quarter, and teams that are struggling to learn how to win lots of times find ways to malfunction in the fourth quarter.
Well, the Patriots have history on their side. They've won 23 of their last 25 against Buffalo, and Brady is 20-2 against the Bills.
Another flag down the line of scrimmage.
This one will bounce inside the 5 and take a Buffalo bounce. Now let's check the penalty marker.
Well, it's against Buffalo, and you can be sure that New England will make them punt again.
Bill Belichick wants to know where the ball is.
I think it's right at the 10. It's a curious, he runs the risk of being pinned even inside of that.
Illegal formation.
He could add it
offense.
on.
New England has elected to enforce the penalty from the end of the kick. It'll be 5 yards.
See, now they'll get the ball. They'll get the ball up at the 15. That's a smart play by Bill.
Hey, just a reminder, it's not too late to sign up and play NFL.com fantasy football. Get free mobile apps and exclusive instant highlights. Sign in and play for free at NFL.com/fantasy.
Yeah, Bill played the odds there going, well, you know what? If I give him another shot at it, chances are that they'll get it inside the 15-yard line. He's not going to run the risk of being backed up against his end zone again.
So here's Brady from his own 15-yard line.
What do you got? Who do you want? Give me 2!
Play fake. Edelman, first down and more. 40. Across the 45 and close to midfield.
Well, instead of Rob Gronkowski, it's Julian Edelman working the middle of the field. All 5 foot 10 inches of him, and then not only that, but he runs through tackles. And it's that was a big play for New England from a confidence standpoint.
New England has had several of them today. 6 of 20 or more yards. LeGarrette Blount with the carry. Back to New York in the NFL today.
Luck getting it done with his feet.
Hey guys, if you have the Colts in your knockout pool, you can breathe a sigh of relief right here. 19 yards. Look at this athletic move by young Andrew Luck. He leads his team back 21-17. Terrell Pryor's already run for over 100 yards for the Oakland Raiders. Good game happening in Indianapolis.
Greg, Dan, and Tracy.
Boy, there was a lot of talk about the young quarterbacks around the league last year, but there's sure a lot to like about Andrew Luck, isn't there?
Yes, and he's much more athletic than a lot of people realize.
Brady. Far sideline, and that's complete to Tompkins. Let's go downstairs to Tracy Wolfson. Tracy.
Well, guys, all game Tom Brady has remained cool and calm on the sidelines, but you can just tell he was getting frustrated by the minute, and then he couldn't take it anymore. Just before this drive, he went out there to these guys and he said, this is not going to be easy. We have to work our butts off here. He said, get it together. We only have 15 minutes left. Guys?
Thanks, Tracy.
The guy just radiates and oozes leadership.
Down the middle of the field and through the hands of Edelman in the end zone. Defended by Mikkel Roby.
And if I'm the Buffalo Bills, I got double coverage on Julian Edelman no matter where he's going. I am not going to let him get singled up. Oh, and Tom realizes how close that was to being a touchdown.
This is Vereen, left side. And forward to about the 10.
How about Vereen runs right into his left tackle, Nate Solder, who grabs him and helps him on his way. He almost disappears. Watch this, he's going to end up right in Solder's midsection. And Solder goes, come on,
Get up
that
there.
way. It's that way.
It's a first and goal at the 10-yard line. Brady incomplete.
That time he was trying to throw it to another rookie, Josh Boyce. And again, these are, you're going, are these really the Patriots? Tompkins and Boyce and Sudfeld. Josh McDaniels, of course, back in New England for his second stint as he's the offensive coordinator for 2 years now. His 10th year overall that he's been a member of Belichick's coaching staff.
Second and goal. Brady pulls it down, now goes corner of the end zone, incomplete. Edelman getting himself a workout today, covered by Roby.
Twelve players on defense. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
Oh, another costly error by Buffalo as they had an extra defender.
Buffalo just killing themselves with penalties today.
Number 10. Mario Williams back out on the field.
Line of scrimmage is the 5. Brady under pressure, escapes, throws, end zone, incomplete. Intended for Tompkins. Thought for a second Tom might pull it down and run with it.
There's so much timing and getting to know each other involved when a quarterback improvises the way Brady did there, leaving the pocket. And right there, do you see, instead of immediately breaking back across the goal line, Tompkins came to a stop. That's, they'll work that out, but that's not what Brady, he should have instantly started digging across the back of the end zone.
3rd and goal. Brady on the move and goes down at the 15. Kyle Williams. Pro Bowl defensive tackle.
Well, the defensive captain is Kyle Williams. And again, take a look here. And that obviously is a tremendous mistake. Kendrell Tompkins doesn't know where he's going. He runs right into Julian Edelman, and the rookie ends up piling everything up, and Tom Brady has to eat the ball.
From 33 yards out, Gostowski is good. 10:48 to play in the 4th. It's a 1-point game. Buffalo 21, the Patriots 20. That's the rookie Buffalo quarterback, E.J. Manuel. Antsy to get back out onto the field. His lead down to 1. True to their word, the Bills have been up-tempo all day long.
Well, they're going to be up-tempo all day long,
all season long.
Yeah, that's all there is to it. It doesn't look that breezy, but that's the second time we've seen the ball blown off the kicking tee.
T.J. Graham is deep. Lost this one in the end zone and now has to run it out. Has some running room. That's T.J. Graham, and Graham barely gets it across the 10-yard line. Well, Tom Brady and Danny Amendola trying to figure out what they have to do to come out on top at the end of this game.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the game's most refreshing beer. FedEx. FedEx does more than shipping. FedEx, solutions that matter. And by CenturyLink, your link to what's next.
Welcome back to Buffalo. Pressure turns over to the Bills now. From their own 12-yard line, E.J. Manuel stepping up, throwing behind his intended receiver.
Oh, they're going to call unnecessary roughness. They're going to call it on Gerard Mayo. They're going to say he could have pulled up and he didn't have to hit him.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 51, defense. 15-yard penalty, 1st down.
The league has made it very apparent and very obvious, talking to these guys, that you just, a couple of years ago, that would have been no big deal. Not today. That will draw a flag every single time.
Jackson, straight ahead. A couple of years ago, Dan, the guy would have gotten off the floor and said, "Thank you for not hitting me so hard."
You're right. You're right. He would have taken it easy on him, which is what he did. But the reality of it is, he hit him when he had time to pull up. He could have easily pulled up, and he knew he didn't have the football.
2nd and 3. This is Jackson. Jackson, 1st down yardage, out to the 40-yard line.
Well, this is test of wills time right now.
How about that?
No, that's just hard to believe.
First 4th quarter lead against the Patriots for Buffalo since the 2009 season. And they ended up losing that game. This is Spiller for a couple to the 42.
Now, here's where the hurry-up offense, where you can say, wow, okay, you don't have to huddle, but, the clock is your friend here a little bit. You don't have to necessarily snap it with 15 or 20 seconds left, but they are what they are. I think they're declaring themselves.
That's complete, and close to midfield is Scott Chandler. That'll be about a yard or two short of a first down.
Yeah, let's put the play clock in there, and let's kind of keep track of how quickly they're snapping the ball. But, this is a fatigue thing. They think they've got the New England defense a little weary, and they think that's their advantage, and they think that counts more.
And it's still
than the clock.
very much a ball game.
Oh, no, I'm not saying you sit on it.
Oh, incomplete out here. Stevie Johnson had it on his fingertips and lost it.
Well, that's the problem when Stevie Johnson says something like, they don't have anybody that can cover me. You can't afford to do this. Now, that was not the best throw by E.J. Manuel. All he had to do was hit Stevie Johnson anywhere in the body and make it a much more routine catch. But still, that hits Johnson on the hands. He's got to catch it.
Julian Edelman deep. Fair catch called for and made at the 14-yard line. Tom Brady says time to go back to work. 8:41 on the clock. Patriots down by 1. Tom Brady's ability to lead his team from behind in the fourth quarter and overtime, well documented, 37 times.
But I'll tell you, those 37 times he did it with a more talented receiving corps than he has right now.
Last 3 drives for New England have started at their own 3, their own 15, and now at the 14. Brady. Intended for Tompkins.
And again, that's going back to Kendrell Tompkins, the rookie, because he doesn't have a choice. You can't target Edelman or Amendola every single time. But again, he's got to plant and come to a stop. Kendrell Tompkins is still drifting downfield when Tom Brady's trying to go back shoulder on it against good tight coverage by McElvin.
Green is in the backfield with Brady on 2nd and 10. Looks this way. Knocked down, incomplete.
Well, he's got his tight end, Michael Humanawanui, there trying to block. And you can see that's Jerry Hughes, who comes in and puts a shoulder right into the ribs of Tom Brady. Forced that bad throw.
Leotis McElvin has played himself a heck of a football game. Brady with plenty of time on 3rd down over the middle. Oh, what a catch. What a catch made by Amendola.
Tom drifting to his left, and look at that throw. The coverage underneath was so close to tipping that ball. Oh, what a tremendous effort. What an effort by Danny Amendola, laying out for that football when you know he's in pain with an injured groin.
In the 27, Brady. Coming to the near side, and another fine catch at the 40-yard line and out of bounds. Julian Edelman.
Well, Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola are stepping up. Check this out. What a tremendous catch by Edelman. Unfortunately, number 11 and number 80 are pretty much having to do this all by themselves.
Yeah, there really isn't much mystery for the Buffalo defense.
Oh, Shane Vereen's handled a few out of the backfield, but that's...
This is Vereen. noses just over the 40-yard line to the 41. Kyle Williams, Marcel Darius to meet him there. We're coming up on 7 minutes to play in the fourth.
Greg, I don't mind telling you, when I saw Danny Amendola hobbled in the first half, I'm thinking to myself, I'm not sure we're going to see him the rest of the day.
Let me ask you,
Pulled
Dan.
groins don't get better in a hurry.
Well, what do you do in the locker room at halftime for that?
Well, they iced it. I'm not sure if they could localize it in any way. But he's got my admiration for being out there.
2nd and 9, Vereen, left side. Oh, what a tackle on the far side. Made by number 33, Ron Brooks.
An outstanding. That is the way you close and wrap up. Look at that. Good, nice legal hit, but drive and get in there and don't let go. Boy, Vereen can't believe he got brought down. He thought he was going to get around the corner.
Helping shore up a depleted secondary of the Buffalo Bills.
And what does Pettine do here? Does he come after him?
3rd and 7.
Yep, comes with 6.
Knocked down by McKelvin.
And again, Tom grabs his head. I'm not sure that, again, that he's on the same page with Kenbrell Tompkins, the rookie. Tom had plenty of time to get rid of that ball. It was 6-man pressure.
And McKelvin spotted it all the way.
Yeah, no separation at all between Tompkins and McKelvin.
McKelvin now for the return. We'll let it bounce and goes into the end zone for the touchdown.
Matthew Slater, he got one earlier in the game where he was able to down it and keep it going in from going into the end zone. He almost got that one too.
5:51 to play here in the fourth. And how big is this upcoming possession for E.J. Manuel and the Buffalo Bills to at least take some time off of that clock?
Well, Doug Marrone is an old offensive lineman, and he knows that this is where your offensive line can go a long way towards winning you a football game. By grinding out some first downs when the other team knows you're going to run the football.
Offensive coordinator in New Orleans, too.
Yep. But he's an offensive lineman at heart.
C.J. Spiller.
Well, that time Dante Hightower, the 270-pound linebacker for New England, stuffed that at the hole.
Now there's the play clock in the upper right, right next to the time, and they're not going to let it wind down at all.
Snapped it at 23 seconds.
Manuel, this side, incomplete, thrown over everybody. Stevie Johnson, the nearest receiver.
I'm sure that Doug Marrone this is who we are, and he's certainly serving notice that this is what it's going to be. That we are not ever going to slow this thing down and use up the clock. But this could be an awfully quick 3 and out.
Manuel looking at a 3rd and 10. Over the middle. That's complete, but not going to be a first down. Out to the 28 is Chandler. And that'll bring the punting unit on. Thought it was pretty funny when Vince Wilfork, we were talking with him about playing against up-tempo. He said, first thing I do these days is see how many teams that we're playing against that plays up-tempo.
Yeah, he said I counted 6 on the schedule. I got them targeted. I don't like it. But the one thing about it, when it's a 3 and out, it's like you were hardly out there. Before you know it, you're back on the bench.
Buffalo needs a terrific kick out of Sean Powell here. Edelman made the catch and goes down at the 34-yard line. Hey, not everyone can be a quarterback, so get inside the minds of those who can. Join Phil Simms, Rich Gannon, Steve Berline, and Adam Schein when NFL Monday QB returns at a special time tomorrow at 5 Eastern, only on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Time's getting short for the New England Patriots.
Well, if you're Buffalo right now and you're Mike Pettine, it starts with the fact that you single coverage Tompkins, and more often than not, you commit 2 defenders to both Edelman and Amendola if you can.
Vereen on the receiving end. Makes it across the 35 to the 36. Clock continues to move. We come up on 4:15 to play. As we hit the 4-minute mark, Buffalo with a 21-20 lead on New England. 2nd and 8. Brady hitting Vereen at the 40-yard line, and he falls forward about a half a yard or so. Both teams with all 3 timeouts remaining, and Doug Marrone cheering his troops on.
Well, on both 1st and 2nd down, the Bills showed blitz and then backed out of it. Only came with 4 on both of those situations.
Here's a 3rd and 3.
Let's see if they do more than just fake pressure.
Penalties at inopportune times have been a problem for the Bills all day long. Brady over the middle. And Danny Amendola again with a huge catch for a 1st down.
And again, it's just like Wes Welker running these same routes. And again, the Buffalo safeties too deep to actually be a part of this. Jim Leonard not able to get in and be meaningful on Amendola, and that is asking an awful lot of the corner covering Amendola to keep him from getting that far inside.
This is Vereen, and Vereen crosses midfield and is into Buffalo territory as we come up on 2.5 to play.
And again, Stephen Ridley, the A ball carrier for the Patriots, hasn't played since he fumbled in the 1st half. He has been a spectator the rest of this game, and it has been LeGarrette Blount and Shane Vereen handling the running back here.
2nd and 4. Quick pass. Amendola to the 41. 2-minute warning with 1:58 to play. A 1-point lead for Buffalo. Greg Gumbel, Dan Deerdorf, Tracy Wolfson back at Ralph Wilson Stadium in Buffalo. 1st down, New England. They trail by 1, 1:58 to play.
Oh, there was a delayed movement at the right guard. This one might go against New England. That was a lot. We saw Dan Conley get away with it earlier.
Our referee is Walt Anderson.
False start, number 63, offense.
That was too
The
much
offensive
time.
player did not react to an immediate movement by the defensive player. 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
He did one in the 1st half and got away with it, but that rocking motion he made was, you could see the Bills defender was already all the way back and back on one knee. It's got to be an instant reaction.
Each team has 14 points off of turnovers today.
Well, that was 5 critical yards.
Brady, short one over the middle. Amendola left the game with a re-injury to a groin and came back and has been spectacular in the 2nd half.
He and Julian Edelman both have just been grinding all day long, catching short passes, taking big hits.
Amendola, 9 catches for 94 yards. 2nd and 11. Brady complete and riding him out of bounds at the 40-yard line is Kiko Alonso, the rookie middle linebacker.
Boy, and right now, depending on what they do here on 3rd down, that 5-yard penalty on Dan Connolly is looming large. You say that target line at the 36. Well, they'd be inside that target line already without that false start.
3rd and 9. Brady throwing. Up. Amendola. That's unbelievable.
And that ball was deflected at the line of scrimmage. That ball looked like it was battered.
And Buffalo takes a timeout. 1:08 to play. Patriots on the march.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Nationwide Insurance. Nationwide is on your side. And by Subway. Any regular footlong is a $5 footlong at Subway. Hurry in this September. Subway, eat fresh.
Back in Buffalo, Doug Marrone used the first of his 3 timeouts remaining. New set of downs for Brady at the 29. The give is to Vereen. Vereen following blockers, left side, turning the corner, still on his feet inside the 15-yard line. And a timeout called by Buffalo as Doug Marrone now trying to save some time on the clock.
Well, this was a back-breaking run by Shane Vereen. And the Buffalo containment was compromised on that side, and they get around the corner. Nate Solder made a good block at left tackle.
And if you're Doug Marrone, you have to call the timeouts now and leave yourself some time on the clock.
The problem here, though, Greg, he's only got 1 remaining.
Right. Tom Brady knows he is within game-winning field goal range. First down. Tight formation. Brady.
He's just centering the ball.
Set it up.
Yeah, he's just centering the ball between the hash marks.
And Buffalo uses its 3rd and final timeout.
This is just Brady trying to get Gostkowski as centered as he possibly can. Directly between the hashes.
Shane Vereen has chalked up his first 100-yard game of his career. 101 on the day. And Tom Brady will take a knee and let some time run off the clock.
Well, they'll run it all the way down. You can see
They
there's going
should
to
be able
about,
to stop the clock with about 8 or 9 seconds remaining.
Just under 10 seconds is when they'll stop it. Give Gostkowski his chance. And Tom Brady's trying to make that come from behind number 38.
Gostkowski has been good today from 48 and from 33 yards, and this one will be from right around 34, maybe 35 yards out.
Well, I can just say this. If the Patriots convert this field goal, 3 guys need to really get special merit. Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman, and Shane Vereen. Shane Vereen has played himself a football game, too. He's got 7 receptions out of the backfield.
And that 101 yards
and
rushing.
101 yards rushing. That's a good day's work for a running back.
So Gostkowski, his career long is 53. He's done that twice.
Well, this is probably 95%.
This is 35 yards right down the middle. On its way and perfect. And with 5 seconds on the clock, the New England Patriots regain the lead.
Well, no doubt about this. This ball wasn't more than a foot or 2 off the center line. Right down the middle. And Doug Marrone knows that learning how to close out a game and how to put it away is something that his football team is going to take some time to learn. Conversely, on the other side, they've turned in a gritty performance, don't you think? Oh, I mean, considering that this is a receiving corps that is just trying to find its way, to learn its timing, to figure out what number 12 wants of them. And this is why Bill Belichick is the way he is sometimes during the week, when people like poo-poo going to Buffalo and saying, well, that's just a W, that won't be any big deal. Well,
He knows better.
This was a big deal. Well, can Buffalo run this back?
Won't get the chance. Sails out of the end zone, and it'll come out to the 20-yard line. And we are likely to see E.J. Manuel's longest pass attempt of the day.
Well, we'll see if E.J. Manuel can channel his inner Joe Flacco. And who's going to play the role of Jacoby Jones here. And the New England safeties that might set a record for how far they are off the line of scrimmage.
So we'll see who E.J. Manuel has out there. No doubt Stevie Johnson.
We're 35 yards.
Hey, we're going right.
40.
And T.J. Graham.
45. They're working on 50 yards off the line.
Oh, little short one, pop over the middle. And flipping it backwards, it's loose on the ground. It is covered and this ball game is over. New England, now with 10 straight wins on opening day. This one didn't come easy. They've won 24 of their last 26 against Buffalo, and Brady now 21-2 all time against the Bills. Our final score, 21-20. Coming up next, the U.S. Open Women's Final, Serena Williams and Victoria Azarenka. This has been a dandy. For Dan Deerdorf and Tracy Wolfson, Greg Gumbel saying so long from Ralph Wilson Stadium in Buffalo. You've been watching the NFL on CBS. We'll join James Brown in New York in the NFL Today, right after this.